Hello everyone. Before we begin tonight's story, I want to thank all of you for being here on this journey together. And if you enjoy my channel, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate your contribution and feedback. Dear listener, settle into the warm embrace of your blankets. Feel the gentle cradle of your pillow, the cozy weight of your bed wrapping you like a hearth's glow. Take a slow, deep breath. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Let your shoulders soften, your hands rest, your entire body sinking into the mattress like molten iron cooling in a mold. Imagine a cool night breeze slipping through an open window, carrying the scent of charcoal, warm metal, and distant pine. Hear the faint clang-clang of a hammer on iron, the soft crackle of a forge fire, the rustle of leaves outside a stone-walled smithy. Each sound, each sensation, pulls you deeper into calm. Your eyelids growing heavy, your mind drifting, ready to float with me into a medieval world where sparks dance like stars. Our story begins in a quiet village where a blacksmith's forge glows under a starlit sky, and the night hums with the promise of a Starforged blade. Chapter 1. The Forge's Glow. In the village of Eldervale, nestled in a valley where the hills cradle the stars, stands a stone smithy, its chimney puffing soft clouds of smoke into the night. The year is 1345, and the world moves to the rhythm of hammer and hearth, where every craft is a prayer, every task a thread in the village's tapestry. Torin, the blacksmith, works by his forge, his hands steady, his eyes reflecting the fire's glow. The forge's flames leap, casting golden light across Torin's tools, hammers, tongs, an anvil worn smooth by years of work. The air is thick with the scent of charcoal and molten iron, grounding and warm, blending with the faint rustle of leaves outside and the distant hoot of an owl. In medieval times, blacksmiths were revered, their craft seen as near mystical, for they shaped iron into tools and blades that sustained life. Torin, a man of quiet strength, believes in an old village tale. A blade forged under starlight could be blessed by the heavens, its strength drawn from the stars themselves. Tonight, he works on such a blade, his hammer striking iron with a rhythmic clang-clang, each blow a note in a lullaby that soothes the night. Hear that clang-clang, listener. The hammer's steady song, blending with the fire's crackle, the breeze's gentle sigh. Imagine the forge's glow, its warmth spreading through your chest, your arms, your legs. Your body is heavy, sinking deeper, your thoughts drifting like sparks in the air. Torin pauses, wiping sweat from his brow, his hammer resting on the anvil with a soft clink. The iron glows red, then white. As he shapes it, his movements deliberate, almost reverent. The medieval belief in star-blessed blades was rooted in the idea that celestial light could infuse metal with divine strength, a notion Torin holds close as he glances at the open window, where stars twinkle like scattered embers. The blade, still rough, seems to hum, its surface catching the starlight, a faint shimmer that feels alive. He dips it into water, the hiss of steam rising like a whispered prayer, the air cooling, the smithy wrapping him in a cozy haze. Feel that haze, listener. The steam's gentle touch, the starlight's glow, the hammer's fading echo. Let it wrap you like a blanket, easing every muscle, every thought. Your breath is slow, your heart calm, as the story weaves its warmth. Torin works on, the clang-clang resuming, each strike shaping the blade, its form emerging long, sleek, a sword meant for a village elder's son, soon to be knighted. The forge's glow bathes the smithy, the sparks dancing upward, as if reaching for the stars. The medieval smithy was a place of transformation, where raw iron became tools of protection. And Torin feels this, his heart steady, his hands guided by the rhythm of his craft. The blade's shimmer grows, a reflection of the sky, and he senses something sacred, a blessing not just for the blade, but for the village, for the night. for rest. Drift with those sparks, listener. Tiny stars rising in your mind. Their glow warm and gentle. The forges crackle, the breezes rustle, the hammer's song. They cradle you, guiding you deeper into calm. Your body is heavy, your mind floating as you slip toward dreams. The night deepens, the village quiet save for the smithy's glow. The clang-clang a heartbeat in the dark. Torin sets the hammer down, the clink a soft farewell, and banks the forge, its embers glowing like a promise of tomorrow's work. The blade rests on the anvil, its shimmer faint but steady, the starlight a silent blessing. Torin sits by the fire, his eyes heavy, the smithy a haven, and dreams of a sky where stars forge blades of light, a vision that wraps him and you, dear listener, in peace. Whispers sleep in that peace, listener. The forges glow, the stars above, the hammer's gentle hum. Your breath is slow, your heart calm, your body sinking into dreams. Our story continues in the glowing heart of Eldervale's smithy, where Torin's forge hums with starlight, and the blade he crafts pulses with a quiet promise. Chapter 2. The blades whisper the night wraps Eldervale in a velvet cloak, the village silent save for the faint crackle of Torin's forge, its embers glowing like captured stars. The smithy's stone walls stand warm, the air thick with the scent of charcoal, molten iron, and the earthy tang of pine carried on a cool breeze through the open window. Torin, the blacksmith, stirs from his brief rest, his eyes drawn to the blade on the anvil, its surface shimmering faintly, as if kissed by the stars above. The clang-clang of his hammer resumes, each strike steady, deliberate, a rhythm that echoes through the valley like a heartbeat soothing the night. The blade, still unfinished, is destined for young Cedric, the elder son, who will soon kneel before the village church to be knighted. In medieval times, a sword was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of honor, its forging a sacred act. Torin believes in the old village tale that stars could bless a blade, their light infusing it with strength and truth. As he hammers, the iron glows red, then white, sparks flying upward, tiny flecks of light that seem to dance with the constellations visible through the window. The hiss of steam rises as he quenches the blade, the sound sharp but fleeting, blending with the soft rustle of leaves outside and the distant hoot of an owl. The starlight pours into the smithy, bathing the blade in a silver glow, its shimmer deepening, as if the sky itself is forging alongside Torin. He shapes the edge, his hands guided by years of practice, each clang-clang a note in a lullaby that wraps the smithy in warmth. The medieval smithy was a place of alchemy, where fire and iron met to create something eternal. And Torin feels this, his heart steady, the forge's glow a comforting presence. The blade's rhythm hums, a quiet promise that this sword will protect, not destroy, its bearer blessed by the stars. Torin pauses, his hammer resting with a soft clink, the anvil his eyes tracing the blade's curve. The shimmer pulses faintly, almost like a breath, and he senses a presence, not a figure, but a warmth, as if the stars are watching, their light weaving through the iron. He recalls his grandfather's stories, told by the hearth, of blades forged on sacred nights that never dulled, their edges sharp as truth. The crackle of the forge blends with the memory, the air cooling as the fire settles, the smithy's glow softening into a cozy haze that cradles the night. The blade rests, its surface catching the starlight, a mirror of the sky's quiet majesty. Torin banks the forge, the embers glowing low, their warmth lingering like a whispered promise. He sits by the anvil, his hands still, the rustle of leaves outside a gentle lullaby. The smithy a sanctuary where dreams are shaped. The village sleeps, its cottages dark, the valley hushed, but the smithy's glow lives on, a beacon of light and rest. Torin's eyes grow heavy, the blades shimmer a guide to his dreams, where stars hammer light into swords that guard the world. The night deepens, the crackle of the forge fading, the starlight steady, the blade a silent vow. Torin sleeps, the smithy warm, the air scented with iron and pine, the stars above forging dreams that wrap Eldervale in peace. The blade waits, its glow a promise of strength, its rhythm a lullaby that carries the village through the dark. The night drapes Eldervale in silence, hushing the whispers of the day. One by one, the village cottages surrender to the darkness, their hearths glowing embers and vacant eyes. Only within Torin's smithy does the forge cast its warm, golden light, its crackle a steadfast heartbeat in the quiet symphony of the night. A gentle breeze caresses the valley, carrying the scent of charred oak and molten iron, mingling with the faint, crisp tang of wild herbs carried on the wind. Through the open window, the boundless expanse of the night sky blazes with a million burning stars, their distant light a comforting presence. Torin, the village blacksmith, stirs from his rest, his calloused hands instinctively drawn to the half-finished blade resting on the anvil. Its surface shimmers with a spectral silver glow, as if the very stars have wove their ethereal light into the iron. As Torin steps towards his forge, the night sounds weave together, the clatter of his hammer resuming its steady beat, echoing through the silent valley. With each measured strike, he shapes the blade's edge, not just an implement of steel, but a vessel to channel the heaven's might. The rhythmic clang-clang mingles with the soft rustle of leaves stirred by the night breeze and the distant gurgle of the slumbering river. The blade he forges is destined for young Cedric, who is to be knighted in the upcoming mourning ceremony. It is a vital tool, yes, but also a symbol of honor and courage, a testament to the strength that lies within the young squire. The hum of the forge fills the smithy, a steady drone punctuated by the sharp ring of hammer on iron. Sparks fly upward, tiny stars of their own, dancing briefly in the darkness before vanishing into the night. Each swing of Torin's hammer sends a shower of sparks spiraling into the air, momentarily illuminating the intensity in his focused eyes. They catch the starlight filtering through the open window, and for a fleeting moment, the smithy is filled with 1,000 tiny stars. In the medieval world Torin inhabits, blacksmiths were more than just craftsmen. They were intermediaries between the earthly and divine, with their forges acting as sacred altars where the raw materials of the earth were transformed into tools imbued with celestial power. And at the heart of this transformation was the belief that stars could imbue a blade with extraordinary strength, their cold, distant light weaving magic into iron. As Torin labors over his creation, the shadows lengthen and twist in the corners of the smithy, mimicking the dance of flames in the forge. His brow furrows in concentration, his muscles bunching as he puts his considerable strength behind each blow. The blade is almost complete, its form sleek and deadly, poised on the anvil like a sleeping predator. Torin envisions the way it will look in Cedric's hands, the sunlight glinting off, its honed edge as the young knight defends the realm with honor and valor. The thought brings a rare smile to his weather-beaten face. The blade itself is a thing of beauty, perfectly balanced, its edges razor-sharp, promising swift and decisive action. But it is the subtle glow that envelops it, the ethereal shimmer that sets it apart, making it more than just a finely crafted weapon. This is a blade touched by the stars, blessed with celestial power. The hours slip by like hammer's blows, each one forging not just a blade, but a bond between Torin and the cosmos. The forge sputters, its breath hitching as if in exertion, mirroring Torin's own fatigue. But the blacksmith pushes on, his determination fueling his movements. The rhythmic clang-clang of his hammer becomes a mantra, driving out any thought of rest. As the first hint of dawn begins to color the eastern sky, Torin's hands move with a practiced grace, coaxing the final shape from the resistant steel. The blade gleams, not just with the reflected firelight, but with an inner luminescence, as though the stars themselves have woven their essence into its being. With a final flourish, Torin lays down his hammer. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by the sigh of the cooling metal. The medieval era in which Tauren lives is a time when superstition and religion are deeply intertwined. The belief in celestial influence is not just a quaint footnote in people's lives. It's a living, breathing reality that shapes their everyday existence. Stars, planets, and even the phases of the moon are seen as potent forces, guiding not just the tides and seasons, but the very course of human lives. For a blacksmith like Tauren, this belief is particularly potent. His forge, the place where raw materials meet heavenly energy. As Tauren stands back to survey his handiwork, the first rays of sunlight creep through the opening in the roof, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. The blade on the anvil catches the light, sending a shower of sparks scattering across the ceiling. Tauren squints, shielding his eyes, not just from the brightness, but from the overwhelming beauty of what he sees. The blade is not just glowing, it's pulsing with a life of its own, the stars winking in and out of existence on its surface. He remembers the stories, the ancient tales of heroes, whose weapons were blessed by the gods, whose arrows never missed, whose swords blazed with celestial fire. Could this be one such weapon? The thought is both exhilarating and terrifying. Tauren dips a leather bucket into the waiting water trough, the rhythmic sloshing a counterpoint to the steady hum of the forge. The bucket, like a miniature vessel of the cosmos, carries water from the mundane world to imbue the extraordinary blade with life-giving essence. The water splashes onto the red-hot blade, creating a momentary explosion of steam that billows out from the smithy, carrying the scent of wet iron and ozone. The air shimmers with moisture, cooling the smithy after the furnace heat. The blacksmith watches intently as the steam fades, revealing the blade in its full glory dot. It is not just quenched, it's baptized, cleansed, and energized. The blade shimmers, the starlight trapped within its metal heart, beating out the rhythm of eternity. This moment of triumph, however, is tempered by the knowledge of what comes next. Tauren knows that the true test of this blade, its star-touched might, is yet to come. When Cedric takes it in hand and faces whatever dangers lie ahead, the blade will speak its silent language of celestial power. Tauren carefully removes the blade from the anvil, its glow undimmed by his touch, and lays it on the rough-hewn table. It rests there, not just a weapon, but a fragment of the night sky solidified in iron and will. As the morning light spills into the smithy, Tauren runs a calloused thumb along the blade's edge. He feels a faint vibration, as though the stars themselves are whispering secrets to him. The night has deepened. The sky above the smithy now, a velvety expanse sprinkled with countless stars. Their light, cold and distant, filters through the small opening in the roof, bathing the interior in a soft, ethereal glow. Tauren needs a piece of clay, his movements slow and deliberate, a stark contrast to the frenetic energy of the forge. From the humble earth, he forms a simple seal, one that will keep the blade safe until it is needed. In the medieval world he inhabits, even a weapon touched by the stars requires protection from the unseen forces that lurk in the darkness. Docked with the seal in place, Tauren wraps the blade, not just for safekeeping, but to shield it from the curious eyes of the world. Until Cedric is ready to claim his birthright as a knight, the blade will remain hidden, its celestial light a secret burning within. As the night deepens, the forge cools, its embers glowing like dying stars in the vast expanse of the smithy. Tauren leans back, his gaze drifting to the blade resting on the table. Its glow, steady and unwavering, is a beacon in the encroaching darkness. The silence is profound, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. The medieval world is a place where the veil between the earthly and divine is thin, where the whisper of the wind can carry secrets and the shadows can hold more than darkness dot. And in this moment, Tauren feels a deep sense of peace. The blade is ready, the stars aligned, and the dawn of a new day, both literal and metaphorical, is on the horizon. The sound of approaching footsteps pulls Tauren from his musings. He turns, his weathered face creasing into a welcoming smile. It's young Cedric, his eyes shining with the promise of a new day. In his hands, he holds not a weapon, but a simple flower, a wildflower blooming defiantly in the twilight. Cedric offers it to Torin, his face earnest. Torin accepts the flower, its fragrance a burst of color in the monochrome world of the night. He looks at Cedric, seeing not just a young man, but a reflection of the dawn, the rising sun, the future of Eldervale. In the coming morning, when Cedric is knighted, when he takes his first steps into the world as a protector of the weak, he will need more than just a sword. He will need the courage to wield it, the wisdom to know when to draw it, and the heart to ensure its celestial light never dims. The two stand in silence, the flower a fragile bridge between the darkness of the old and the hope of the new dot, as the stars continue their silent vigil above Eldervale. The smithy is filled with the soft glow of starlight. The blade rests on the table, its celestial light a constant reminder of the responsibility that comes with power. Torin knows that when Cedric claims this blade, he's not just taking a weapon, he's inheriting a legacy forged in the fires of 1,000 hopes and dreams. The night is far from over, but the dawn is patiently waiting in the east, eager to paint the sky with hues of a new day. And as long as the stars continue to shine, Eldervale will be bathed in their celestial light, guided by the wisdom of the ages and the courage to face whatever darkness may come. Welcome back to my channel. The wind whispers secrets through the trees tonight, secrets carried on the breath of stars. Do you hear it? Do you feel it? That cosmic lullaby, weaving its magic to lull you into dreamland? Let's snuggle up under the blanket of the night and lose ourselves in a tale as old as time itself. Once upon a time, nestled between rolling hills and whispering woods, stood a quaint village. Its cobbled streets echoed with laughter and life until one fateful night when shadows grew long and fear took flight. For the village was under siege. Trapped in a battle they were destined to lose against a fearsome dragon, whose scales were said to be harder than any metal known to man. Their only hope lay with the famed blacksmith Torin, a man whose skill was whispered in hushed tones across the land. Now, Torin was no ordinary blacksmith. His forge burned with a magic flame, fueled by the very essence of starlight. It was said that when he crafted a blade, he didn't just shape iron, he shaped destiny. His shop was a sanctuary of clanging steel and dancing sparks, a place where iron sang its fiery song under his expert hammer blows. But tonight, the anvil was silent, for Torin stared into his forge, not with the joy of creation, but with the grim determination born of desperation. He had been given a near impossible task, one that could either save the village or seal its doom, crafting a sword capable of piercing the dragon's impenetrable hide. As he worked, his hammer fell with the force of a warrior's heart, each blow ringing out like a note of defiance against the encroaching darkness. With every swing, sparks flew, tracing fleeting constellations in the gloom, each one carrying a silent prayer to the heavens. The air grew thick with anticipation, mirroring the tension coiling in Torin's chest. His face, usually creased with the mirth of a jovial craftsman, was now set in a mask of concentration. Beads of sweat tracing paths down his weathered face, testament to the Herculean effort he was exerting. In the flickering light of his forge, his eyes glinted with an almost otherworldly light. Was it the firelight playing tricks on the villagers' minds? Or did those depths hold the wisdom of ages, the secrets of the cosmos swirling within them? The rhythm of his labor was hypnotic, each clang of hammer on steel echoing the heartbeat of the village, each shower of sparks a tiny rebellion against the looming darkness. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying with it the dragon's menacing roar, a constant reminder of the urgency of Torin's task. Yet he did not falter. With a final resounding clang, he laid down his hammer. The air hung heavy with the scent of burnt coal and ozone as the blacksmith stepped back to admire his handiwork. Emerging from his forge, the villagers gasped. In his hands, He held a sword unlike any they had ever seen. Its blade was the color of twilight, streaked with veins of silver that glimmered like captured starlight. The hilt was wrapped in supple leather, its crossguard fashioned into the head of a snarling wolf, its teeth gleaming like chips of ice. But it was the blade that stole their gazes, for as it caught the flickering lamplight, it seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Runes of power traced along its length, whispering of forgotten magic and untold strength. Torin raised the sword, and as he did, the night sky blazed. A shooting star streaked across the heavens, leaving a trail of shimmering light in its wake. The blacksmith lowered the sword, his face grave. He knew what this meant. The star had blessed his blade, imbuing it with the power to vanquish the dragon. Hope rekindled in the villagers' eyes. They watched as Torin, their champion, walked towards the dragon's lair, his silhouette a beacon of courage against the encroaching night. With the star-forged blade held high, Torin strode forth, each step echoing with determination. Before him, the dragon's lair gaped like a maw of darkness, promising peril and whispering tales of the beast's fiery wrath. But Torin pressed on, his gaze unwavering. As he ventured deeper into the lair, the air grew colder, the silence broken only by the drip of unseen water and the rustle of disturbed wings. The stench of sulfur and decay hung heavy, a grim reminder of the dragon's presence. Suddenly, a pair of eyes, twin embers of malevolence, ignited in the gloom. They locked onto Torin, and in that instant, a primal fear threatened to consume him. But he stood his ground, his grip tightening on the star-forged blade. From the shadows, the dragon rose, its bulk casting a chilling silhouette against the flickering fire behind it. Its scales shimmered like 1,000 tiny mirrors, each reflecting a fragment of Torin's terror. With a deafening roar that shook the very foundations of the lair, the dragon lunged. Its claws extended, sharp as scimitars, aimed at tearing the blacksmith's armor asunder. Torin glanced aside, the dragon's hot breath singeing his cloak as it passed. Adrenaline surged through him, urging him on as he parried and thrust, his blade flashing in the dim light. The dragon recoiled, surprised by the resistance it met. Its roars echoed through the cavern, laced with a hint of pain. But it quickly recovered, its eyes blazing with a renewed ferocity. The battle raged, a deadly ballet of fire and steel, each clang of sword on scale sending tremors through the earth. The dragon's strength was formidable, its attacks relentless, but Torin held firm, his determination fueled by the prayers of his village and the memory of the lives hanging in the balance. He danced and weaved, his movements a blur of controlled chaos, his blade singing a song of defiance. Then came the opening he had been waiting for. As the dragon reared back, preparing another fiery blast, Torin saw his chance. With a mighty roar of his own, he charged, the Starforged blade held high. The dragon, caught off guard by the sudden assault, could not defend. Time seemed to slow as Torin's blade found its mark, piercing the dragon's hide with a sound that echoed through eternity. The dragon let out a deafening screech, a sound laced with disbelief and agony as it collapsed. Its reign of terror finally ended. From the depths of the dragon's lair, a new sound arose, the triumphant cheers of the villagers, their voices carrying on the wind, reaching the ears of the weary blacksmith. He had done it. With the dragon vanquished, peace returned to the village. And as the sun rose, painting the sky with hues of hope and renewal, Torin stood in the center of it all, the hero of the hour. The villagers, their faces alight with gratitude and admiration, hailed him as a savior. Their cheers reverberated through the cobbled streets, echoing the triumph of courage over fear. Children, their eyes shining with awe, ran through the crowd, their laughter mingling with the music that now filled the air. Old men and women, their faces etched with the hardships they had endured under the dragon's reign, now beamed with newfound hope. Torin, their protector, had secured their future, As the day wore on, the aroma of roasted meats and freshly baked bread wafted from every home, mingling with the sweet notes of victory. Tables groaned under the weight of celebratory feasts, each dish a testament to the joy of their newfound freedom. Yet amidst the revelry, Torin stood apart, his gaze distant. The cheers and laughter, though music to the villagers' ears, were a muted hum to him. His thoughts were with the dragon, its valiant struggle, its fierce spirit resonating with a wildness he understood all too well. The blacksmith, who had once toiled in the quiet solitude of his shop, was now at the heart of a celebration he couldn't fully join. He felt the weight of the village's adoration, the hopes and dreams they had placed upon him, and he knew that beneath the cheers, their fears still lingered. For they had tasted the bitter fruit of fear and oppression, and even in the face of victory, caution remained. As the night deepened, the festivities began to wind down. The villagers, their voices hoarse from cheering, their faces flushed with the warmth of shared joy, slowly made their way home. Torin watched them go, a bittersweet ache in his heart. He had saved the village, yes, but at what cost? The dragon, he knew, had fought not out of pure malice, but out of a primal need to survive. In the flickering lamplight, his face was etched with a pensive calm. His eyes, usually twinkling with the joy of creation, now held a depth of understanding born of empathy. As the last strains of celebration faded into the night, Torin turned away, seeking solace in the familiar solitude of his forge. There, amidst the remnants of his craft, he felt most at peace. The rhythmic clang of his hammer on steel was his solace, each swing a beat in the quiet symphony of his existence. In the heart of his forge, surrounded by the ghosts of 1,000 creations, Torin felt most truly himself, the blacksmith, the craftsman, the weaver of iron and starlight. Softly, slowly, imagine the crackle of a fire, the faint hiss of embers, the steady, rhythmic tap, tap of a hammer on glowing iron. In a quiet village cradled by rolling hills, where the wind whispered secrets through ancient oaks, there lived a blacksmith named Torin. His forge sat at the edge of the village, a sturdy stone building with a chimney that puffed soft clouds of smoke into the velvet night. The glow of the forge was a beacon, warm and inviting, like a candle flickering in a window to guide a weary traveler home. Listen, can you hear the fire? The gentle whoosh as it breathes, the soft crackle of logs settling into ash. Torin was no ordinary blacksmith. His hands, calloused yet precise, seemed to dance with the iron he shaped. His eyes, the color of storm clouds, held a quiet wisdom, as if he could hear the stories the metal whispered as it glowed. The villagers spoke of him with reverence, for Torin believed in the old ways, the ancient belief that a blade forged under the stars could carry their strength, their light, their eternal calm. Tonight, the sky was a tapestry of twinkling stars, each one a tiny ember in the vast hearth of the heavens. Torin stood at his forge, his apron dusted with soot, his sleeves rolled to his elbows. The fire roared softly, its warmth wrapping the small space in a golden embrace. He reached for a bar of iron, its surface cool and unyielding, and placed it gently into the heart of the flames. Feel the warmth. Imagine the fire's glow on your face. Soft, like a blanket of light. The iron began to glow, first a faint red, then a pulsing orange, as if it were waking from a long slumber. Torin's hammer rested in his hand, its wooden handle smooth from years of use. He lifted it, and with a steady, deliberate rhythm, he began to strike. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was like a heartbeat, steady and soothing, each strike sending a cascade of sparks into the air. The sparks danced like fireflies, fleeting and bright, before fading into the night. As he worked, Torin spoke to the iron, his voice low and melodic, like a lullaby. "You will be a blade unlike any other," he murmured. "A sword forged not just of fire and iron, but of starlight and dreams." His words were soft, weaving through the clang of the hammer, wrapping around the listener like a warm shawl. He believed the stars were watching, their light pouring down to bless the blade, to infuse it with strength and serenity. Close your eyes. Let the rhythm of the hammer carry you. Tap, 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 like rain on a rooftop. Torin paused, wiping his brow with the back of his hand, and looked up at the sky. A star, brighter than the rest, pulsed above the forge. The villagers called it the Forge Star, said to shine brightest when a blade of legend was being born. Torin smiled, his heart steady, and returned to his work. The iron was taking shape, its edges softening, its form beginning to hint at the sword it would become. Imagine the stars, tiny lights in the dark, watching, waiting, whispering. The night stretched on, and the forge became a world of its own, a place of warmth, of rhythm, of creation. Torin's hammer sang. The fire sighed, and the stars above seemed to lean closer, their light pooling in the iron. As the first chapter of the blade's story was written, Torin felt a quiet certainty. This sword would be extraordinary. Rest now. Let the glow of the forge hold you. Let the stars cradle your dreams. Hear the wind outside the forge, a gentle hush, like a mother's whisper to a sleeping child. The night deepened, and the village slept under a blanket of starlight. Torin's forge glowed brighter, a haven of warmth against the cool air. The iron bar, now a rough blade, rested in the fire once more, its surface shimmering like a pool of molten sunlight. Torin moved with care, his hands steady, his breath slow and even, as if he were part of the forge itself. Feel your breath, in and out, slow like the tide, matching the rhythm of the fire's pulse. He drew the iron from the flames, its glow so bright it seemed to hum. Placing it on the anvil, he began to shape it further, his hammer falling in a gentle cadence. Clang, clang, clang. The sound was softer now, more deliberate, as if the iron were singing back to him. Each strike smoothed the metal, coaxing it into a graceful curve, a blade that seemed to flow like a river under moonlight. Torin's voice joined the rhythm, low and soothing. "The stars are with us tonight," he said, his words blending with the hammer's song. "They've seen empires rise and fall, yet they shine on, eternal and calm. They'll lend you their strength, little blade." His voice was like a warm breeze, wrapping around the listener, inviting them to sink deeper into relaxation. Imagine the stars, each one a story, each one a light to guide you. He glanced upward again, and the forged star seemed to pulse in time with his hammer. The villagers believed that a blade forged under its light would never falter, that it would carry the bearer through any storm. Torin had heard the tales since he was a boy, sitting at his father's forge, watching sparks fly like tiny stars. His father had taught him the old songs, the ones sung to the metal to honor the heavens. Listen, can you hear it? A faint hum, like a lullaby from the sky. Torin began to hum, a low, resonant melody that seemed to rise from the earth itself. It was an ancient tune, one his father had sung, passed down through generations of blacksmiths. The notes wove through the air, mingling with the fire's crackle and the hammer's steady beat. The forge felt alive, as if the stars themselves were singing along, their light spilling into the blade. The iron was transforming, its surface smoother now, its edges sharper. Torin turned it carefully, his hands gentle, as if cradling a living thing. He spoke to it again, his voice a whisper. "You'll carry the light of the stars," he said. "You'll be a beacon in the dark, a blade of peace and strength." The words felt true, heavy with purpose, yet soft enough to lull the listener into a dreamlike state. Let the melody carry you. Let it wrap you in warmth, like a blanket woven of starlight. As the second chapter of the blade's forging drew to a close, Torin set the hammer down, letting the iron cool slightly. The forge was quiet now, save for the fire's gentle sigh and the distant hoot of an owl. He looked at the blade, its form clearer now, and felt a deep calm settle over him. The stars were watching, and the blade was listening. Rest, let the night hold you. Let the stars sing you to sleep. Breathe deeply now. Feel the air, cool and soft, like a gentle hand brushing your cheek. The forge was a cocoon of warmth and light, its glow pushing back the darkness. Torin stood at the anvil, the blade now a sleek, elegant shape, its surface catching the firelight like a mirror. The night was at its deepest, the hour when the world seemed to hold its breath, and the stars shone with a quiet intensity. Hear the silence, the soft, velvet quiet, wrapping you in peace. Torin took a moment to tend the fire, adding a log that crackled as it caught flame. The scent of burning oak filled the air, earthy and comforting, mingling with the sharp tang of heated metal. He picked up a bellows, its leather worn and soft, and pumped air into the fire. The flames leapt higher, their light dancing across the stone walls, casting shadows that flickered like dreams. He returned to the blade, lifting it from the anvil with a pair of tongs. The metal glowed a deep, pulsing red, alive with possibility. Torin placed it back into the fire, letting the heat seep into its core. "This is where your heart is forged," he whispered, his voice a gentle murmur, like water over smooth stones. "The heart of a blade is its strength, its truth, its soul. Feel your own heart, slow, steady, beating in time with the forge's rhythm." He drew the blade from the fire and began to hammer again, his strikes precise yet soft, as if coaxing the metal rather than forcing it. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was hypnotic, a steady pulse that seemed to echo the star's light. Each strike shaped the blade's heart, folding the metal upon itself, strengthening it layer by layer. Torin's hands moved with a grace born of years at the forge, each motion deliberate, each strike a note in the blade's song. He spoke again, his voice weaving through the rhythm. "The stars give you their light," he said, "but your heart comes from the fire, from the earth, from the hands that shape you." His words were a lullaby, soft and rhythmic, inviting the listener to drift deeper into calm. The third chapter of the blade's forging was complete. Torin set the blade aside to cool, its surface still warm, its heart now strong. He sat by the fire, his hands resting in his lap, and closed his eyes for a moment. The forge was a place of peace, of creation, of dreams taking shape, and the blade, nearly finished, waited for its final chapter. Rest now. Let the warmth hold you. Let the stars guide your dreams, softly now. Feel the night air, cool, gentle, like a whisper against your skin. The forge glowed with a steady, comforting light, its fire now a low, warm hum. Torin stood at his workbench, the blade before him, its surface polished to a mirror-like sheen. The night was waning, the stars still bright, but beginning to fade as dawn whispered on the horizon. Yet the forged star held its place, its light unwavering, as if it knew the blade's forging was not yet complete. Hear the quiet, the soft rustle of leaves outside, the faint hum of the world at rest. Torin took a cloth, soft and worn, and began to polish the blade, his movements slow and deliberate. The cloth whispered against the metal, a gentle she that blended with the fire's crackle. The blade gleamed, its surface reflecting the forge's glow, the star's light, and Torin's own steady gaze. He spoke to it, his voice a soothing murmur, like a parent comforting a child. "You're almost ready," he said. "One last step, little blade. The stars must bless you, seal their light within you." His words were soft, wrapping around the listener like a warm embrace, inviting them to sink deeper into relaxation. The medieval belief held that a blade blessed by the stars would carry their strength, their calm, their eternal light. Torin believed it too, with every fiber of his being. Imagine the blade, shining, radiant, a piece of the night sky in your hands. He stepped outside the forge, the blade cradled in his hands, and held it up to the sky. The forge star seemed to pulse, its light pouring down like a silver waterfall, bathing the blade in a gentle glow. Torin closed his eyes, his lips moving in a silent prayer, an ancient invocation passed down through generations. The words were lost to time, but their meaning lingered, a request for the stars to lend their strength, their peace, their light. Feel the starlight, soft, cool, washing over you like a gentle wave. The air was still, the night silent save for the faint rustle of leaves and the distant call of a nightbird. Torin stood there, the blade raised, and felt a warmth in his hands, as if the metal were absorbing the starlight itself. The blade seemed to hum, a faint, resonant note that vibrated through the air, through Torin's bones, through the listener's heart. He returned to the forge, the blade now glowing with a subtle, otherworldly light. He placed it on the anvil one final time, picking up a finer hammer, its head small and precise. Tink, tink, tink. The strikes were delicate now, shaping the blade's final details, smoothing its edges, perfecting its form. Each strike was a whisper, a promise, a blessing. Let the sound carry you, tink, 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 like drops of water in a quiet pond. The blade was complete, its surface a flawless arc of silver, its heart strong, its light eternal. Torin held it up, turning it slowly, and smiled. The forge star's light lingered in the metal, a quiet promise of strength and serenity. Deep within a forest, nestled between towering trees that whispered secrets to the wind, stood an old cottage. Smoke curled from its chimney like a dragon's breath, carrying with it the scent of pine and something else, something magical, the smell of creation. Inside, an old man with a long white beard sat by his forge, the fire's glow dancing in his twinkling eyes. His name was Torin, and he was no ordinary blacksmith. He was a Starforged. The rhythmic clang of hammer on steel echoed through the cottage, each strike ringing with an otherworldly resonance. Outside, the wind rustled the leaves into a hushed whisper, as if the trees themselves were listening to the ancient song of creation. Every now and then, sparks would leap from the anvil, tracing fleeting paths through the darkness before vanishing into the shadows. Each spark was a fallen star, a fragment of the heavens captured in molten iron. This night was special. Torin wasn't just forging any blade. Tonight, under the watchful gaze of the full moon, he was crafting a sword destined for a hero who would one day need it to save the kingdom from an encroaching darkness. As the sword took shape, Torin hummed an ancient tune, a melody so old it predated even the written word. His voice, though raspy with age, carried the power of 1,000 talis, each note resonating with the heartbeat of the cosmos. He sang of a time when the world was young, and the stars walked among men, sharing their celestial wisdom and granting blessings to those deemed worthy. Back then, the sky wasn't a vast, empty expanse. It was a tapestry woven with the laughter of gods, a grand celestial loom where the fates of mortals were decided with the fall of each star. When a star fell, it didn't simply vanish. It became a blessing, imbued with celestial energy, waiting to be discovered and wielded by those who could channel its power. One particular star, a brilliant blue, blazed with a fierce brilliance. Its light held the power to heal, to mend broken bones and soothe weary souls. But it was also said to contain a terrible curse, a punishment for mortals who dared to use its power for nefarious means. For a brief moment, Torin stopped his hammering. The image of the star burned into his mind's eye. He knew its power, its healing touch, but also the danger it posed. In the right hands, the sword he was forging would be a beacon of hope, a symbol of courage and resilience. But in the wrong hands, it would become an instrument of destruction, a conduit for chaos and despair. With a deep breath, Torin dispelled the vision. The choice, he knew, ultimately lay with the hero who would wield the blade. As dawn approached, bathing the cottage in hues of rose and gold, Torin finished the sword. It was a masterpiece, its blade gleaming like a frozen waterfall, its hilt crafted in the shape of a snarling wolf's head. The sword seemed to thrum with latent power, waiting for the moment when it would be unleashed. He had named it Starlight, a tribute to the celestial magic that flowed through its veins. As he sheathed the sword, Torin felt a surge of pride mixed with a profound sense of responsibility. He had done his part. Now it was up to the hero to prove worthy of the blade's trust. Suddenly, a loud knock shattered the morning calm. Torin, startled, looked towards the door. Who could be visiting so early? He set down his tools, his old bones creaking in protest, and slowly made his way to the entrance. As he opened the door, a young man stood there, his face hidden behind the hood of his cloak. The visitor stepped inside, revealing a face both handsome and haggard, his youthful features etched with worry lines that hinted at a burden too great for his years. He was a prince, Torin could tell, his clothes bearing the insignia of the royal family. But it was the desperation in his eyes that truly captivated Torin's attention. "I heard you were the best blacksmith in the land," the prince began, his voice hoarse, "and I have come to you seeking your help." Torin nodded, motioning for the prince to sit by the fire. As the young man warmed himself by the hearth, he told his tale. A shadow had fallen over the kingdom, he explained, sapping the joy from people's hearts and twisting their smiles into grimaces. His father, the king, had sent him to find the legendary Starforged blade, a sword rumored to banish shadows and bring light back into people's lives. Prince Caius had searched far and wide, following every lead, every whisper, and finally found his way to Torin's doorstep. He had heard tales of the old blacksmith's prowess, of how his blades weren't just weapons, they were vessels of hope. Torin listened intently, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. When the prince finished, a heavy silence filled the room, broken only by the crackling fire. Finally, Torin spoke, his voice rough with emotion. "You seek the Starforged blade," he said, more as a statement than a question. The prince nodded, his eyes pleading. "They say it can bring light into the darkness," he said, "heal the sick and wounded, and banish the shadows that plague my people." Torin stood up, his joints aching with each movement. "Then you have come to the right place," he said, a glimmer of pride in his voice. He walked towards his forge, its cold embers glowing like dying stars. "I am Torin, son of Eldrin, and I am a Starforged." With that, he began his ritual, the ancient ceremony that bound blacksmith to blade. First, he gathered materials from around the cottage. Water from a nearby stream, earth from a field kissed by the sun, air from a tree that had stood since before the dawn of memory. And finally, fire, the lifeblood of his forge. Each element was carefully collected, not just as ingredients, but as tokens of respect to the ancient magic that coursed through them. With the elements gathered, Torin prepared his forge. It wasn't just a tool for him. It was a gateway to the celestial realms, a bridge between the mundane world and the realm of magic. The forge roared to life, its flames licking at the night sky, reaching out as if to grab hold of the very stars. The air shimmered, and for a brief moment, Torin saw a reflection of the fallen blue star in the heart of the flames. He dipped the sword into the forge, and as it touched the searing metal, a jolt of energy surged through him. Starlight, with its celestial essence, amplified by the forge's magic, pulsed with power. This was the heart of the ritual, the moment when blacksmith and blade became one, when the will of the cosmos was channeled into steel. Torin pulled the sword from the forge, its surface now glowing with an ethereal light. This was no ordinary blade. Starlight was alive, brimming with the potential to heal and harm. In Torin's hands, it hummed with power, a celestial symphony waiting to be conducted. He turned to the prince, his face grave. "Are you ready, Prince Caius?" he asked, his voice echoing with the weight of ages. The prince, his eyes shining with determination, nodded, his grip tightening on the pommel. "I am ready," he declared, his voice ringing with newfound confidence. Torin raised Starlight high, its tip aimed at the night sky. "By the forge of the ancients," he intoned, his voice echoing the power of creation, "I bind this blade to you, O Starlight, with your celestial light. Banish the shadows and bring forth the dawn." As Torin spoke, Starlight responded, its glow intensifying until it bathed the cottage in a celestial light. It was a moment of pure magic, a testament to the enduring power of belief and the unwavering spirit of heroism. The ritual complete, Torin stepped back, his task done. Starlight was now bound to its new wielder, ready to fulfill its destiny. Prince Caius, transformed by the sword's celestial aura, was no longer just a boy thrust into a man's role. He was a beacon of hope, a living embodiment of the dawn, breaking through the darkest night. With Starlight in hand, Prince Caius was ready to face the shadows that plagued his kingdom. He thanked Torin, his voice filled with gratitude and newfound strength. As he turned to leave, Torin called out to him, his voice gruff but kind. "Remember, Prince Caius," he said, "the true power of Starlight lies not just in its celestial magic, but in your heart, in your courage and your compassion." Prince Caius paused, turning back to face Torin. "I won't let you down, Torin," he promised, his eyes resolute. And with that, he was gone, his footsteps echoing with purpose as he ventured forth to confront the darkness. Thorin watched him go, a wistful smile touching his lips. He had done his part. Now, it was up to the hero to write the next chapter of the legend. Starlight was more than just a sword. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, the dawn will always break. And so the story of Thorin, the Starforged, and Prince Caius, the Dawnbringer, was passed down through the ages, whispered around campfires and sung by traveling bards. For as long as there are heroes who face the darkness and the shadows that try to consume us all, the legend of Starlight will endure.